Good morning, happy cup final day and welcome to Chat UTD. I'm going to do two videos this morning, one on the managerial situation at United and one cup final preview, all very last minute. Didn't want to have to do all of this today, but yesterday got away from me. Let's start with the managerial stuff then. On Thursday I did a video ironically talking about Kieran McKenna and possibly Pochettino being two options that I wouldn't mind for different reasons. And then later on Thursday, Sky Sports News broke that United had spoken to McKenna, and I think since then, The Athletic, The Guardian and The Muppeteers significantly have all verified that information. In case Erik ten Hag got the sack. I mean, you don't speak to a manager just in case. Do you fancy the job or just in case we sacked Erik ten Hag? We're not daft. We're grown ups. He's going to get sacked, is what it looks like. I think particularly the Muppeteers confirming it makes me trust that news, that they've definitely at least spoken to Kieran McKenna, because the fella, he's not my cup of tea really, I have to say, but he always seems to get it right, in fairness to him, all the way through the takeover stuff. Even if it was news that I didn't really want to hear, he always pretty much was bang on with it. As he said, I'm pretty sure Ineos didn't want this to come out on the eve of a cup final. My reaction yesterday was not one of outrage, not one of, I can't believe they're doing this on the eve of a cup final. You know, it's rinse and repeat, it's the same cycle, they're treating managers appallingly. United don't owe anything to Erik ten Hag. He's their manager, he's not done well enough, he's failed, they'll give him a handsome payoff and he'll go and get another job. You know, he's not a victim in this. He is a professional that's not done his job well enough. There's ways to sack people, obviously, but ultimately, football is a ruthless business. If you get sacked, you get sacked. That was my take on it yesterday. I have to be balanced though, and I've heard this morning, I think it must have been from the embargoed section of Eric's press conference yesterday, that he said he's been directly told they're going to move forward with him. I think that's not a good look, I have to say. If they've told him he's staying and then they've gone and behind his back and spoken to other people, that's not great. But who knows? I'm sure there's a bit of he said, she said going on here, and people's different perspectives might not necessarily be lies. It's just that Eric saw it one way and you saw it another. I don't know. But you know what? Ultimately, as I say, he's failed. And I think the McKenna being linked to Brighton and Chelsea has forced United's hand a little bit, in that if he was someone that we're looking at and wanted, and then another club potentially could go and get him, they've acted sooner than maybe they would have done, or the news has got out because they've spoken to him. It's really difficult to be inconspicuous and incognito in the world that we live in. So I think we just need to be grown up about it. There seems to be like a really strong emotional attachment to Ten Hag, as if he's been there for 15 years and done like what Klopp did at Liverpool. He's had 2 years, one good one bad one. Get over it. This sort of feeling of it's just rinse and repeat over and over again. Well, if Ineos in 5 years' time have had 6 managers, then yeah, it will be. But Ineos have come in and they want their own person, and I'm going to come on to that in a second, actually. But it's a new leadership of a club, and they're within their rights to want their own person to come in. It doesn't mean it's rinse and repeat at all. It's completely separate to anything that's happened in the past. And Ten Hag hasn't done well enough to keep his job. The timing of it, you could say, is questionable, but you know what? That's life. You'll be all right. I mentioned Kieran McKenna on Thursday, as I said, and I think it would be an appointment that is true to what Ineos, have said about who they are, whether we like it or not. They've come in and they've said in February, Sir Jim Ratcliffe directly said, the director of football and the chief executive are going to set the tone of the club. They're going to set the style of play. They're going to set the culture. They're going to set the ethos of the club, and the manager has to deliver that. I've done videos on that for the last few months. I've mentioned that, and I said watch out for a left field appointment, because it doesn't necessarily then tally that you would get someone like Thomas Tuchel that comes in, despite the fact he's a bigger name and has got more experience, because he isn't going to toe the line and do what Ineos want him to do. That would be a complete contradiction of what they've told us they're going to try and do. It'd be a Glazer appointment. McKenna looks more like what we've been told that they're going to do. They've been honest about it. They've said that's what they're going to do. They want a manager to fulfill their ethos. They don't think that's Ten Hag by the look of it. So they've gone and got someone that they think is the right person to do that. Do you know what? If you've got a massive problem with it, you should have protested more against the Glazers when we had the chance to get them out. Because whether we like it or not, we've got Ineos. And the reason we've got Ineos is because the fans didn't stand and snap the Glazers' neck, metaphorically, when they had the chance to do it. Because no one could be arsed protesting properly about it and doing anything meaningful. So we didn't get the Glazers out. We've got Ineos. So in many respects, as United fans, you made your bed, you lie in it. That's who we've got. They've said what they're going to do, and they're doing it. So again, grow up. But this is the world we live in. We can disagree with it. That's fine. But that's what we've got. People keep harking back to Ratcliffe's comments on Arteta, that Arsenal stuck with Arteta. And I remember thinking at the time, everyone's going to jump on this and say that it means they're going to stick with Ten Hag. It doesn't necessarily mean that. It means that Arsenal picked their man, Arteta, and they stuck with him. Ten Hag isn't Ineos's man. If Kieran McKenna is, I hope, that he will get time to do what he needs to do. That's what I take from the Arteta comment. Not that they're going to stick with Ten Hag. The next manager, as I've said before, he doesn't have to be a title-winning manager. I hope he is, but it's highly unlikely. We're in phase one, which is get a steady, consistent style of play that's attractive, that the players buy into. Get a group of players who are hungry and willing to fight for the shirt, and that the crowd can be proud of. Probably get a decent young profile of a squad with some youth players in. He's been the head of academy at McKenna, so I think that kind of fits. Have a system that we play that supersedes the manager, sort of, really, and really kind of establish ourselves, hopefully, as a top 4, top 3 club that can fight for trophies. So the next manager needs to do that, and that's a big ask, but the next manager needs to do that. So when people say, what experience has he got of the Premier League? What experience is it? How's he going to win the title for us? He probably won't. But as I said before, neither would Zinedine Zidane, neither would Thomas Tuchel, neither would Gareth Southgate, neither would Graham Potter, neither would De Zerbi or Thiago Motta, my man that I wanted. Neither would Pochettino. None of them would win the league because it's not realistic. But excuse me. But the appointment for me is quite innovative. It's different. It's exciting. It shows conviction in what they're trying to achieve. It's kind of like a Thiago Motta type signing, if they got him, because of course it's not done and dusted by any stretch of the imagination. Let's look at McKenna in a bit more detail. I feel like I've forgotten something, which is why I'm hesitating. But never mind. Hopefully, it'll come back to me. Oh yeah, Arteta. That's what I was going to say. Yeah, they talk about his no experience. Mikel Arteta was an assistant manager before he became the manager of Arsenal. He had no managerial experience. Kieran McKenna's got a lot more managerial experience than Arteta. That's what I was going to say. So let's look at McKenna. This is the type of thing I wanted. I wanted them to, if they've said to us, we want a manager who's going to fulfill an ethos that's set from above, then don't go and get Thomas Tuchel. Go and get someone who's your man. As I said before, spread your net wider than it was before. Don't just look at people that the bookies are saying, the media are saying, the fans are saying. Go left field if you have to. If you believe that's the right person to bring us forward, be brave, be bold, have conviction, and go and get the person that you want. And if that's Kieran McKenna, there's worse ones out there, in my opinion. So I'm really excited about this. I don't think, as I said before, that we're going to suddenly win the league. But I've said for ages, United need to strip the whole thing back, and they need to get rid of a lot of players, and that still needs to happen. In fact, it even needs to happen even more if McKenna comes in. And we just start again. And if we get a project manager who faces up and is the face of that, who's perhaps a bit less experienced, that grows and evolves with the club and makes his name at United, and again, I've touched on that before, then I'm golden with that. I think that's what I want. And we have to be really patient. And this is a thing that United fans are best at. Get behind the manager, have patience with him, no matter what he does. Ten Hag's proved that this season. Jesus Christ, you finish 8th in the league, you get a minus goal difference, and you've got people hankering for him to stay. So this is something I can get behind with McKenna. But let's look at him, let's profile him. He retired at 22 with an injury. If you look back at your history, there's a lot of examples of managers who either didn't have particularly auspicious playing careers because maybe they retired early with injury, or maybe they just weren't particularly great, but ended up being a real student of the game. And I think that's the way I'd class McKenna. I think he's a student of the game. You look at Mourinho, Wenger, Sven-Göran Eriksson, that they didn't have really amazing careers as in terms of as a player, but they've gone on to be great managers because they look at it perhaps slightly differently. And if you look at his history, he got a sports science degree at Loughborough, and you might think, well, what's that got to do with it? For me, that means he's not had a silver spoon in his mouth. He's not just played for a massive club and then got a job on the back of that, or because he knows people in the game or whatever. He has started right at the bottom. He has gone to better himself. Sports science is a huge part of football these days. He obviously is a sharp character up there, which I think I really like. And Loughborough, if you don't know, is one of the leading universities for any kind of sport-related degree. So sports science in particular is an incredible degree to get if you're going to go on and do something like management, leadership of any kind in sport. He was with Spurs youth from 2015 to 16, then United from 16 to 18. Again, like heading up the academy, I think that's massive because I think the youth are going to play a massive part in the next few years. He was promoted to first team coach along with Carrick when was he called Rui Faria, the assistant that Mourinho had. He left. So in 2018, McKenna was worked with Mourinho, carried on working with Solskjaer, and then left in 2021 to go manage Ipswich in the December of 2021. In that first season, he oversaw a lot of improvement. I read that I think they went 11 games unbeaten. They kept a record amount of consecutive clean sheets, and it was a really good season in League One, but they didn't get promoted. 22 to 23, they finished second in League One with 98 points from 46 games. They scored 101 goals and conceded 35. Now, that was the best goals for record and the best goals against. You very rarely see that. Normally, if you've got a goals for record that's as high as 101 goals in 46 games, it's because you've left some gaps at the back and your goals against column's pretty high as well. If you have a low goals against column, it's because you're quite pragmatic and you don't score that many. He's got the balance absolutely right in that season. That's incredible. 101 goals scored, 35 conceded. They've bossed it. That's unreal. Brilliant. So that's in League One. So they go up to the Championship, and with largely the same squad, finishes second again, gets 96 points in the Championship. Goals for 96, again, good effort. Goals against 57, obviously that's quite a lot more, but I think there's a step up, isn't there, in the Championship? You look at some of the clubs that are in there. They're really Premier League clubs in the making, the likes of Southampton, Leeds, Leicester. I'm sure there's others. So again, incredible effort. And just looking at him and reading his profile a little bit, if you look into it a little bit deeper, he's I think 9 of the players that were in the first starting 11 when he first joined Ipswich are still there. 7 of them pretty much still play week in, week out. Now, what he's done is he's managed to be the second best in League One, and then gone up a huge level to the Championship and been the second best in the Championship. Now, he's not going to go up with Ipswich and finish second in the Premier League, I'm pretty sure. But if he jumps ship and goes to United, or Brighton or Chelsea, but obviously in our case, I hope it's United. If he comes to United, we're the 8th best team in England. Ipswich were probably around the 10th best team in League One when he joined them, and he got them to finish second. They probably would have been classed as probably about the 19th or 20th best team in the Championship, I guess. Or certainly maybe 15th, 16th, and they finished second. United are the 8th best team in England. So we need him to jump 4 places next season, essentially. It's not as easy as that because it's Man United. It's the micro-analysis. It's all the things I've said before. But nonetheless, whatever he's done so far, it's been on an upward trajectory and he's been successful. He's young. He knows the club. I'm just really excited about it if it happens. I think it's so different and refreshing and left field. And the fans... cannot demand wholesale change and then when we do something different, moan about it. The fans can make or break this, I think. If there's an air of this is never going to work about it, it potentially could get sucked up. It takes a very strong character to be able to be strong against that and get your back straight and be like, I know no one thinks I can do this, but I'm going to just go and do it anyway. It takes a broad pair of shoulders to do that. The fans have got to be with him if it happens, and that's, as I say, what United fans are good at, sticking by someone even though maybe the odds are against them. So bring that into this, as I said. And it might sound a bit antagonistic, it might sound confrontational. We had the chance to get rid of the Glazers. The fans couldn't be arsed. The fans didn't want to do it. The fans didn't want to wait outside against Aston Villa for 18 minutes. The fans didn't want to stay in the stadium in the numbers to protest against the Glazers. The fans didn't want to empty the stadium to make a proper pertinent point. They didn't want to do any of that. So what we're left with is EtH. And EtH very clearly, I repeat myself, but I do it to clarify, very clearly have said, we're going to have a structure where the director of football and the chief executive pick our style of play, pick the ethos and the culture that we want, and the manager has to deliver that. Now, Zinedine Zidane, as much as I love him, isn't going to come in and do that. Thomas Tuchel isn't going to come in and do that. Gareth Southgate isn't, in my mind, good enough to come in, and I hope it's attacking football that United want to play. He isn't adaptable to come and do that. And if they've decided Ten Hag isn't, and I don't blame them, then they've got to go with their own person. And if they get McKenna, that's what they're doing. Is it left field? Yes. Is it risky? Yes. But it's different. It's not boring. As I said, I'm really excited by it. And we've got a cup final today. And already I can see the players are distracted because of the managerial stuff. No. No excuses. I'm going to do the cup final preview in a minute and I'll probably include it in that. No excuses. You've got an FA Cup final against Manchester City. You're massively responsible for why the manager might be going in the first place. You've got one more game with him, potentially. So go and do it. Go and play the best game you can play and win the competition for Manchester United. Not for Erik Ten Hag. Not for EtH. Certainly not for the Glazers. But for Manchester United. Because that's who you play for. So go and do it. Hopefully succinctly kind of sums up the managerial stuff. We'll see. It'll all come out in the wash in the next 24, 48 hours, I would have thought. If you watch my videos, you'll probably see a lot more of my mug in the next 24, 48 hours. But I think it's exciting stuff. Glazers out.